Hey guys, this is Shukesh Banik once again, and today I have for you the all new Samsung Galaxy On7. It's the bigger brother of On5 with a 5.5 inches HD screen, 13 megapixel camera and 3000 mAh battery. It's a 4G device with 1.2 GHz quad-core processor and 8 GB of internal storage and 1.5 GB of RAM. There are 14 Indian languages support, and I'll talk more about the specs later on in this video, so let's move on. The price on the box is 10,990 rupees, that is exactly the same as its selling price on Flipkart. I have added the direct Flipkart link in the description below for your convenience. Now let's get started with the unboxing and check the device itself. Well, the Galaxy On7 is basically a bigger version of On5, and though it's an all-plastic typical Samsung phone, this design is slightly different from the J series devices, especially the back cover is now rubberized and textured. The phone is kind of boxy as well. I'll say this On7 looks much better than the J7. This texture reminds me of previous year's Note 4. The bezel is still plastic, but it's dual tone now. I'll give you a tour of this handset later on in this video. Let's first check what's inside the box. First of all, you get the booklets, the quick start guide, and next you'll find the data cable for charging as well as data syncing, and it's once again a short 2.5 feet cable. Next, let me show you the charging adapter. It's comparatively smaller and the output rating is 5 volt 1 ampere, so not bad actually. The battery is huge and it's of 3000 mAh. Considering the display size and the specs of the On7, you can expect great battery backup, at least 2 full days. Last but not the least, you get the headset, the same headset you get with the J7, J5, J2 and On5. The sound clarity is also decent. If you are not a serious music lover, then you will be happy with it. The earphones build quality and ergonomics are good. The 3.5mm jack is not gold plated, and the remote consists of the microphone hole and a push button for answering and ending calls. Nothing else in the box, so let's get rid of these things here and have a close look at the device itself. Considering this is an entry-level or lower mid-range device from a brand like Samsung, I'll say this On7 looks and feels great. The less rounded corners, good screen-to-body ratio and 172 gram heavy weight, this Galaxy On7 gives a premium and solid feel. The textured bag also provides a good grip of the phone. There are two colors available, gold and black. This phone is 8.2mm thick, but because of the narrow bezel, the phone looks slimmer. The combination of chrome and matte finish on the bezel looks much better than the shiny all-chrome finish. If you are a previous Samsung user, then this design might not be that much exciting though. The design is slightly changed but still needs lots of improvements. Guys, now let me give you a quick tour of the exterior ports. First of all, as you know, there is a 5.5 inches HD TFT LCD screen with 267 ppi. I'll talk more about this when I switch on the phone. As usual, just below the display you will find the home button and the capacitive back and app switcher. The ear speaker grill is above the display, and following the trend of Samsung's entry-level phones, there is the ambient light sensor, so no auto brightness possible. The front camera is a 5 megapixel resolution with full HD recording, and the rear camera is a 13 megapixel shooter with full HD recording as well. You also get the LED flash and the loudspeaker on either sides of the camera lens. At the bottom, you'll find the 3.5mm headphone jack, the microphone hole and the micro USB port. There is nothing at the top. The power key is on the left and the volume rocker is on the right side of the phone. So overall, standard Samsung design, nothing new here. Now the question is, the screen is huge and is it really accessible with one hand? Well, I'm presently using the Galaxy Note 5 with 5.7 inch screen, and I got used to the big screen after a while. Interestingly, the dimensions of these two phones are very close, and considering this On7 is a lower mid-range device, the screen-to-body ratio is actually quite decent. I don't know when Samsung will come up with a beautiful metal entry-level phone. I think they should do it first, because people are actually getting bored of this all-plastic repetitive design. Now if you compare this On7 with the iPhone 6s Plus, which has the same screen size, you can get an idea about how compact is this On7. The 6s Plus is not usable with one hand at all. Because of the compactness, this On7 is more one-hand friendly and you will get used to this eventually. Now let's check what's under the hood. As you know, this is a dual SIM device and it takes micro SIM cards. There is also a micro SD card slot expandable up to 128GB. The SIM1 slot is just below it and there you get the SIM2 slot. This phone is also a 4G device, as you know. Now let's install the battery, switch on the phone and show you the display quality and of course the interface. There you go, the all new Samsung Galaxy On7, and the first thing you notice is the black border around the screen. It's not looking bad at all. Samsung's new TouchWiz interface is now polished and the lags are gone. Let me check the apps drawer, and fortunately you don't get those pathetic trial games preloaded. You might have heard about the ultra data saving mode of Samsung, which can be enabled on this Opera Max, and Mix Radio is a free music listening application and the Smart Manager can help you with managing your battery, RAM and storage. Well, before opening any application, I want to check the RAM status, which is officially 1.5GB and it's plenty for most of the apps and games. The Android version is 5.1.1 Lollipop, which is the latest, and let me now check the RAM. Well, the free RAM out of the box is 684MB, which is not bad actually for a Samsung phone because the TouchWiz interface is quite demanding and it's also feature packed. There are lots of applications running in the background. Now the storage on this phone is something you should be concerned about. Though it's 8GB, you are getting 4.36GB free for the user. You can definitely move your installed applications to the external SD card, but the system apps can't be moved, as you know. A portion of the apps and games also remain in the phone storage. Get an SD card along with the phone and try to get at least a 32GB card. Well, don't worry, the free storage is not that low, and if you move all the compatible applications, then there should not be any problem. Now let's talk about the display. Well, 267 ppi is good enough for a huge 5.5-inch screen. You cannot notice the pixels even from this distance, and the color rendering of this TFT screen is actually very impressive. It might not be as saturated as Super AMOLED and the viewing angles are slightly inferior, but the display is not bad at all, and if you don't put this side by side with a Super AMOLED or a higher resolution screen, then you will not going to complain about the display. The glass is quite smooth, and so far I know this is not a Corning Gorilla Glass, so better use a scratch card. Let's change the wallpaper. This one is perfect, matches with the body color. Writing on a 5.5-inch screen with one hand might not be that much easy for some of you guys, but the continuous input might help a lot. As you know, Samsung keyboards are very responsive, accurate, and typing with two fingers feel great. Samsung might have included their one-handed input option, which shrinks the whole keyboard to your left or right. I'll look that up later in the settings. While one-handed typing needs practice. If you have very small hands, then better get the 5-inch On5. Now let me give you a tour of the preloaded apps and games. As I shown you before, there is no unnecessary bloatware on this phone, which I hated a lot on the J7 and J5. You have got FM radio and most importantly Mix Radio. If you follow Lumia devices, then you must be familiar with this. It's not a radio, it's basically a music library where you can find as many as 30 million tracks. You can even download them for free. I'll give you a detailed tour of this in the full review, so keep in touch. Next, Opera Max browser uses data compression up to 40%, and Smart Manager can help you deleting unnecessary and user data. You can clear the RAM and cache as well. The device security takes care of external threats, and while Samsung Knox Active Protection is enabled by default, which Samsung does for enterprise users, and as you know, this is a security mechanism that defends against attempt to modify or observe your operating system or your sensitive data. So if you need this, enable, and keep in mind this affects the performance of the phone. You can scan the whole device for adware and malware as well. So it's nice to have a system antivirus software. It won't slow down the device that much. So very few Samsung apps preloaded. You can download more from the Galaxy App Store. Well, there is no theme support on this Galaxy On series devices, which is totally disappointing. There you get the notification center with some toggles. You can enable the ultra data saving from here, and it works only with the mobile data. So if you are using any 2G data pack, then use this for streaming videos online, downloading contents and apps, and of course browsing. This dual SIM device also supports smart dual SIM function, that is, if you are busy on the SIM 1 and get calls on the SIM 2, then you will get notification and you can answer that ending the running call. Now on this Galaxy On7, Samsung also included the download booster, which is a very handy feature for downloading bigger files. You can use both 4G and Wi-Fi at the same time for downloading files larger than 30 MB. As I mentioned before, there is no light sensor, so no auto brightness, but you get an outdoor mode for better visibility under sunlight. Samsung did include the one-handed operation mode. You get the one-handed input only, no one-handed screen. Still, it's great. This works in the dial pad, keyboard, calculator, and also on the unlocking pattern. So now one-handed usage of this phone should not be a big issue. Next, let me also show you the camera. As you know, there is a 13 megapixel shooter at the back, and I don't know whether it's of same quality as the J5 and J7. I'll check that out and talk about that in the full review. Well, on the viewfinder, everything is looking great. The focusing is actually quite fast and the shutter is almost instantaneous. The image is looking just fine. Rightly in focus. For selfie lovers, the 5 megapixel front camera should be a great news. You can capture images with the gesture of your hand, and you can even take full HD videos with it. There are a couple of modes as well which are quite handy, and the beauty phase is the most interesting. You can make your skin smooth, your eyes bigger and face slimmer. The Pro mode helps you getting the perfect shot by manually controlling the white balance, ISO and the exposure. If you are a photography enthusiastic, then you will love it. Well friends, we are almost at the end of this unboxing and hands-on review. Overall, this Galaxy On7 looks promising, and for 11,000 rupees, I think it's a good phone to buy. The interface is very smooth, very fast, and I haven't seen any kind of lag or shutter experience whatsoever. This Galaxy On7 is powered by 1.19 GHz quad-core Cortex-A53 processor and Adreno 306 graphics. The chipset is MSM 8916. I'll try some hardcore games like Nova 3, Asphalt 8, and also run the benchmarks and talk about the overall performance of this device in the full review. So make sure you are subscribed, and you can also check the description below for more interesting videos on this On7, On5, J5, J2 and J7 as well. Thanks a lot for watching guys. This is Shukesh Bonik and have a nice day.